China to resume rare earth exports to US after trade pact breakthrough. China will approve the export application of controlled items that meet the conditions in accordance with the law. The United States will cancel a series of restrictive measures taken against China accordingly, China's Ministry of Commerce said. US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick confirmed China is going to deliver rare earths to us, and once they do that, we'll take down our countermeasures. Meanwhile, the Wall Street Journal reported that China asked rare earth firms to submit lists of key technical staff and some to surrender passports to prevent unauthorized travel. Shares of domestic rare earth producers, MP Materials, USA Rare Earth, and Critical Metals fell sharply, down 7.3%, 12.1%, and 12.3% respectively in Friday's trading following the news.
OpenAI turns to Google chips, trimming NVIDIA reliance. OpenAI has begun using Google's tensor processing units, TPUs, for some of its AI workloads, marking a notable shift away from its prior exclusive reliance on NVIDIA chips, according to the information. The agreement to use Google's tensor processing units represents a strategic move by OpenAI to diversify its chip suppliers, moving beyond its previous dependence on NVIDIA for both training and inference of its AI models. One of the largest buyers of NVIDIA GPUs, OpenAI expects Google's TPUs rented through Google Cloud will help it drive down costs related to inference, according to the report. However, Google is not providing its most advanced TPUs to OpenAI, reserving them for internal projects such as its Gemini large language model.
Zuckerberg weighs ditching open-source AI models in pivot to competitors. Meta Platforms executives, including CEO Mark Zuckerberg, have discussed de-investing in its open-source Llama family of language models in favor of models made by competitors, the New York Times reported. The news outlet added, citing two sources familiar with the matter, that Meta may consider adopting models developed by OpenAI and Anthropic. While no final decision has been made, such a move would represent a shift away from Meta's open-source AI strategy toward a more closed model approach. Meta launched its Llama 4 models in April at LlamaCon, but the performance was seen as underwhelming compared to rival offerings, leaving many developers disappointed.
Gold tops wish list as central banks diversify away from US dollar. Central banks are likely to diversify away from the US dollar and increase exposure to gold, the euro, and China's yuan, according to a new official Monetary and Financial Institutions Forum survey of 75 central banks conducted between March and May. About 32% plan to raise gold holdings in the next 12 to 24 months, the strongest conviction in 5 years, while 16% expect to reduce dollar exposure, up from 11% last year. The dollar, previously the most popular currency, fell to 7th place as 70% of respondents cited the U.S. political climate as a deterrent. A net 16% plan to increase euro holdings over the next 12 to 24 months, up from 7% a year ago, making it the most in-demand currency short-term, while 30% expect to boost yuan exposure over the next decade, with its reserve share projected to triple to 6%. The survey offers a first snapshot of the potential repercussions of President Trump's April Liberation Day tariffs that caused market turmoil and a slide in the safe haven dollar and U.S. Treasuries. New Senate bill slams clean energy with 2027 deadline, China sourcing tax. The Senate's updated tax and spending package has shocked the renewables industry by tightening eligibility for clean energy incentives and proposing a new excise tax on wind and solar projects using Chinese parts. Projects must now be operational by end 2027 to qualify for credits, instead of just starting construction by 2025. The Senate version also adds a new tax on these projects if they cannot prove their products are made without Chinese parts. An amendment by Republican Senator Joni Ernst seeks to reverse this. Elon Musk criticized the measure as utterly insane and destructive, arguing that it favors legacy industries at the expense of emerging ones. Baird analyst Ben Kallo said domestic producers like First Solar will benefit from the tax on companies using Chinese-made equipment, although the measure would shrink the pipeline of projects.
Joby's electric air taxi clears flight test in Dubai. Joby Aviation successfully completed the first piloted vertical takeoff and landing wing-borne eVTOL flight in Dubai, a first in the eVTOL sector. This achievement signals the company's commercial readiness in the region. Joby has secured exclusive operating rights for 6 years through a deal with Dubai's Roads and Transport Authority. Planned routes include Dubai International Airport, Palm Jumeirah, and downtown Dubai, with vertiports under construction. Joby also plans to expand in the US with Delta and Uber in Los Angeles and New York, while building its global footprint in markets like Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Robinhood gives out OpenAI and SpaceX tokens, stock soars to record high. Robinhood unveiled US stock and ETF tokens in the European Union, enabling eligible users to trade more than 200 tokenized stocks and ETFs 24 hours a day, 5 days a week on the blockchain. The company introduced tokenized shares of OpenAI and SpaceX to users in Europe, a notable move given that neither firm is publicly traded and access to their equity has traditionally been restricted to insiders and ultra-wealthy investors. This marks the first time Robinhood has tokenized private companies, a milestone made possible in part by the EU's more flexible regulatory environment. Regulatory hurdles, particularly accredited investor restrictions, remain a major barrier to bringing tokenized private equity to the US market. In parallel, Robinhood is introducing crypto perpetual futures in the EU and launching staking for Ether and Solana in the US, reinforcing its aggressive crypto expansion strategy.
Apple eyes OpenAI and Anthropic to supercharge Siri. Apple is exploring the use of AI models from OpenAI and Anthropic to power a future Siri upgrade rather than leaning on an in-house model, according to Bloomberg. The tech giant has asked both firms to train versions of their models compatible with Apple's cloud for internal testing. This move suggests Apple may be struggling with its own generative AI development, despite already incorporating ChatGPT into certain Apple Intelligence features. Discussions remain in early stages, with no final decision made, and Apple has also committed to a multi-billion-dollar investment in running its own cloud-based AI models, starting in 2025. American battery tech soars as Nevada lithium project gets fast-track status. American battery technology surged more than 10% after its Tonopah Flats lithium project in Nevada was selected by the Trump administration as a transparency priority project under Fast 41, expediting its permitting process. The site, one of the largest claystone lithium deposits in the U.S., has already secured a $58 million Department of Energy grant and a $900 million loan interest from the Export-Import Bank to support its phased development. Musk threatens new party. Trump suggests scrutiny of Tesla, hints at deportation. Elon Musk reignited his feud with President Trump over the administration's sweeping Big Beautiful Bill, a multi-trillion-dollar tax and spending proposal. Musk, a vocal critic of the bill, warned it would worsen the federal deficit and said that if insane spending bill passes, the America Party will be formed the next day. Elon Musk, who spent around $290 million backing Trump and other Republicans in the 2024 election, has threatened to unseat lawmakers who back President Donald Trump's multi-trillion-dollar tax bill. Hours later, Trump responded, claiming the Tesla CEO gets more subsidy than any human in history, and hinted that Doge should take a good, hard look at his companies. When asked about possibly deporting Musk, Trump said, "I don't know. We'll have to take a look." Solar stocks shine as Senate nixes China tax from Big Beautiful Bill. Solar stocks surged on Tuesday after the U.S. Senate passed President Trump's Big Beautiful Bill without the controversial excise tax on wind and solar projects. The tax, intended to reduce reliance on Chinese supply chains, had sparked a sharp sell-off in renewable energy stocks. While U.S. manufacturers supported the measure, clean energy developers warned it would increase project costs. The bill now heads back to the House, where opposition over deficit concerns could complicate final approval.
OpenAI testing Google chips. No plans to deploy them at scale right now. OpenAI clarified it is in early testing with some of Google's TPUs, but it has no plans to deploy them at scale right now, according to Reuters. The company continues to rely heavily on NVIDIA GPUs and AMD AI chips to meet its growing compute needs. Planet Labs lands €240 million German government satellite deal. Planet Labs has secured a €240 million satellite services deal with the German government to provide dedicated Pelican satellite capacity, direct downlink services, and access to PlanetScope and SkySat data. The agreement includes AI-powered tools for situational and maritime domain awareness. Revenue recognition is expected to begin in January 2026 and increase over time.
Tesla rebounds from Q1, but still trails 2024 peak amid EU woes. Tesla delivered 384,122 vehicles in Q2, falling short of the 389,000 consensus, but still beating pessimistic expectations. The figure marks a rebound from Q1's 336,681 deliveries, though it's below the 443,956 units from Q2 2024 and the record 495,500 570 units in Q4 2024. Production in Q2 totaled 410,244 vehicles. Tesla is also facing mounting pressure in Europe, with registrations in Denmark and Sweden down over 60% last month. However, Tesla saw positive signs in China, with EV sales rising 0.8% year-over-year to 71,599 units, breaking an 8-month slide.
Archer Aviation begins test flights in Abu Dhabi. Archer Aviation successfully conducted remote vertical takeoff and landing tests of its Midnight eVTOL aircraft at Abu Dhabi's Al Bateen Executive Airport. The tests were performed under extreme weather conditions, including high temperatures, humidity and dust, marking a key milestone in the company's plans for commercial rollout in the UAE and broader Middle East. CEO Adam Goldstein stated that testing the aircraft in actual operating conditions provides essential data to advance certification efforts. Following this milestone, Archer will expand its flight testing program for Midnight in the region, gathering additional data to support its certification and commercialization plans in both the UAE and other key markets. Europe gives green light to Intuitive's Da Vinci 5 surgical robot system. Intuitive Surgical received CE mark approval in Europe for its Da Vinci 5 robotic surgical system, enabling its use for both adult and pediatric procedures, allowing broader adoption of the next-generation surgical platform across European healthcare systems.
Coupang eyes AI cloud dominance with GPU as a service push. Coupang is expanding beyond e-commerce and aiming to become a key player in AI cloud computing. The company emphasized its long-term use of AI infrastructure to optimize services and now offers GPU as a service to outside clients. Analysts say Coupang's involvement in government-backed GPU infrastructure initiatives shows its growing ambition in the cloud services space.